Good morning, everyone. Thanks for fighting the weather and coming in, and those on the phone or on video call, voice call, teleprompter call. Thanks for being with us. I know the weather's bad in many parts of the state. We've been lucky so far in mid-Missouri. It seems like it's just wet outside, but cold. A week ago, it was minus 20, so we should be happy today. Although Sunday it was 75. Cindy, could you take a roll call to see who's available at Curators?
Curator Burnsick. She may not be connected yet by phone. Curator Chapman, do we have you on the line?
Yes, here.
Thank you.
Cindy, did you not hear me?
Oh, I did not, but I hear you now, Curator Burnsick. Thank you.
Sorry.
Curator Graham? Okay. Curator Lehman is unable to join us today, as Curator Farmer is unable to join us. Curator Phillips? Curator Snowden?
Here.
Curator Steelman?
Here.
And Curator Sunvold.
Here. All here. So I will do my first chair report from up here. I think I'll sit most of the year, but I'll do this one from up here. So thank you for being here. A couple things from the chair position, and I hope I work this right. Okay, which button?
I'll get it.
Aha. So I want to introduce myself. I grew up in the state of Missouri, Blue Springs. I was actually born in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Scandinavian background, but I'll go fine-tune. I'm Norwegian, not Swedish. It's a big distinction when you live in South Dakota. Spent a couple years in Nebraska, but really moved to Blue Springs when I was younger. This is my family. My wife, Tamra, is from Sikeston, Missouri, a Mizzou grad, business school in 1985. My son, Wilson, on the left, is a Mizzou grad, industrial engineering. He was an academic All-American on the golf team, and he got his master's from the business school. My daughter, Caroline, that's next to me, got her degree with honors from the School of Business, now lives in Dallas. The middle one is Anna Kate, senior in high school, soon to be selecting college. We're having some arm wrestling matches in my household about where she'll go to school. The other thing is I have the distinction, and many of you know this, I have 3 older brothers. So when we talk about the Missouri system, I am a Mizzou grad. I'm the youngest of 4. My oldest brother, Bob, is the basketball coach at UMSL. I know Tom George isn't here. I hope he's on the line. UMSL's basketball team this year is off to their best start since 1971-72. So the oldest brother is at UMSL. Second brother, Scott, is a Rolla grad, now S&T, but when he was there, it was Rolla. Mechanical engineering, undergrad, master's in mechanical engineering, just retired at age 61. I don't know how you do that, but he just retired at 61 from Honeywell. He was on a design team on nuclear bombs, nuclear weapons. Spent a year at the Pentagon. Now he's retired. Third brother, Stewart, from Blue Springs, worked his way through college at my dad's lumber yard, and he is a business graduate from UMKC. So the Sunvold brothers have been to all 4 campuses. Next, please. I don't know how to work this. So there's 2 gentlemen I want to talk about as when I was a student at Mizzou. The first one, Arvid Strickland, who passed away a few years ago, was the first African-American professor here at Mizzou. He was a history professor. I had him for a couple classes. The unique part about his world and my world is that we had such a great relationship. He talked about leadership and he talked about strength. He always came back to strength. What you did, how you did it in school, and how it translated from the classroom. He knew I was an athlete. Now, he used to kid. He thought my skin tone was a little too light for the sport I was playing, but we could joke about it then. I don't know, in modern world, if you can make jokes about that, but we had a great relationship. The next gentleman that I had a great relationship that was really close to me was my basketball coach, Norm Stewart. Now, this particular picture, this is about as nice as Coach Stewart could get. And when I think back and I think, okay, where'd that picture come from? It's amazing how your memory is. My senior season, start of 1982, we opened up, we're playing North Carolina. They had Michael Jordan. They just won the national championship the year before. We're on CBS, national TV game, St. Louis, Missouri, Checkerdome. How do you remember? Because I remember. The gentleman next to me, my teammate Barry Laurie and I, end of the game, we're ahead. We're beating North Carolina. I was a great free throw shooter, and Barry Laurie was a great free throw shooter. With about 1:05 to go, I'm bringing the ball up the floor. North Carolina is going to trap me. I throw it to Barry. They're going to trap him. He throws it to another teammate. That teammate gets fouled. I was about 85% free throw shooter. Barry's about 85% free throw shooter. The ball went to a kid at about 70%. Norm had his two fingers to the two boys to come over here for a second. And I remember it well because I thought he made sure we understood what leadership meant, what keeping the ball went, and the strength of us winning that game was if one of us were on the free throw line. So from that, I go to the next thing and I think, okay, what are the challenges when you play Michael at one level and then I get to play him at another level? Sometimes you feel like you're out of place, but sometimes it works out. Sometimes it works out, and I think back of Professor Strickland always going, okay, what are your strengths? What do you stay away from? And I used to talk to him in the summer when I came back to Columbia because I lived here every summer. And he would talk to me about athletes, and he said, who's the best? I said, well, Michael's the best. He said, you can't guard him, can you? I said, no, I can't guard him. I can't guard him. Next one. So I run Sunvold Financial, a financial business I started in 1997. And I've got two quick pictures here. This is day one, October 15th of 1997. A simple chair, not a cell phone. There's a cord connected there. I think back, now that's an updated computer, 97. In 93, I had the original Compact 286. Now that, to some people, you don't remember that. That was the first laptop, but it was about 13 pounds to carry that thing in. That looks like an upgraded model. But I dug that picture out because that's where I started. I now have 13 employees. We also have 3 interns from the University of Missouri that serve about 2-year cycles. And then we have trained those interns from our business school or wherever on campus to train the next interns. So it's just a cycle. So we always have 3 on an ongoing basis. If one's going to graduate, their responsibility for their last semester with us is to train the next. So we do that. But that picture came up because I thought my role as chairman this year, my very first meeting, I was on the road. I also broadcast basketball. I was on the road at Colonial Life Arena. Had a game last week, 2 weeks ago, Tennessee, the #1 team in the country. I was going to do ESPN. I told the TV people that I've got a huge meeting with the Health Affairs Committee run by Curator Graham. I've got to be on the phone. I know our tip-off's at 6 o'clock. I'll be in the arena somewhere. So next picture, here's your chairman of the board. Behind the scenes, this is about 20 minutes before tip-off. My broadcast partner for most of my games is Tom Hart. Now, Tom is a Mizzou grad. He was looking for me, and he took this picture. And I didn't know he was taking it. I'm sure I was listening to Curator Phillips and Curator Steelman because they seem to control most of that meeting with their voices. I would love to know what I'm writing down at that particular time. So that's a little background of my world and where I came from. When we started, go ahead, Boom, we had an idea of what the meetings could be about, and we made some changes. And I said I kind of passed it off to a couple people. So instead of 2-day meetings, we're going to go to 1 full-day meeting. The committee meetings will meet a week prior to the full board meeting, and let me give you a little context of what I was thinking. I've always thought when we meet, and again, just my opinion early, was that the committees meet and everything's public. They're public on the phone now, and I always have to remind the curators that when you're on the phone in your committee meetings, they are public, so anybody can be listening in. But I always thought at times we push ourselves with schedules when we get here. And some of these committees could last an hour. or an hour and a half, but we've never been able to do that in this kind of setting. So that was the initial reasoning of why I thought we could do committees in a different way. Next one, Moon. And so when we get to the board, when we get to here for the day, obviously I will have a report, the president will have a report, and we'll go Avery Welker, the student representative, will have a report. We'll summarize. The committee chairs will be able to summarize what we did in the committee. We'll have critical issue discussion. We'll do campus highlights when we're at each campus. This afternoon, Chancellor Cartwright will be able to do his thing. And that gets us through, then we do media, then we'll have executive session. If it doesn't work the way we think it'll work, we can make changes. But I have a feeling from a standpoint of efficiency, for time, for everybody that comes to these meetings, I used to look around and think, okay, we have all the officers here from the university, and I always thought they ought to be working. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just thought, well, they could be working. So we'll try to get things done in a timely manner. Here is my thought and my theme for this year from a curator standpoint. I started thinking this week, when the NCAA Infractions Committee handed down their ruling, and it appeared to me, we have a tendency in the Midwest to just kind of accept some things, and that's okay. But again, the guy that I played basketball for really didn't accept a lot of things, and I made a statement. And I started thinking about what is it that we have built here with the new leadership, and where can this board go and where can the university go? And I started thinking about strength. And it dawned on me that I said, we are the University of Missouri. Kansas City, Rolla, Columbia, St. Louis. We're not a university in Missouri. And sometimes people have a tendency not to think that way. We are the institution, right, at all four places. We are the state university. And so when we go back, this now is a special time in our history. The strength and alignment of our leadership, starting with the board. And what I want to do is acknowledge the past board chairmen, what started with Marcy Graham, started with David Steelman. What we did 2 years ago and what was built last year, their leadership built a strong foundation that we can now start building on. Their leadership allowed us to take a step back, understand what was necessary for the present to have success in the future. Now, President Choi and the general officers are working with collective vision toward the common purposes and goals, thoughtful strategic planning and investment. Now, the vision that Curator Chapman had, along with Curator Steelman, what our university system means and the work they did last summer was very vital. All of the meetings we had, especially the one we had in Springfield, where we all came together, and you start thinking about the pivotal moment now for the UM system. Higher education is changing, we know that. I think from a standpoint of the board, I, as the chair, am impressed by the current members of this board. The strengths we have as individuals are unique. We come from different walks of life. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different professional backgrounds. But collectively, when you put us together, it's a pretty powerful team. We don't all agree on everything that's done. We don't agree on everything that's said. But from a chair position, I'll speak from the curators as one. People across this are working tirelessly not only improve ways which university operates, but to improve the lives of students and Missouri citizens. University means much to me, and I know it means to many of you in the audience from across the 4 universities. We have much to be proud of, also much work to be done. President Choi will share some of the opportunities that are built upon our momentum and continuously improve the mission-critical work of our faculty, staff, and students, doing each and every day. It is my honor to serve as your chair, and I look forward to not only working with the curators, but really everybody on every campus. We've got terrific momentum going, and no matter what happens, and I'm always back to the sports world, you might take a step backwards, but that doesn't hurt going forward. And so we always have things that come up, always. I found out, I thought it was only in sports and business, because that's what I know. I think more things happen in higher education than I could ever have thought. But it really doesn't matter because it's how you react to it. And I want us to react from a power of strength and to do it in the right way. To close out my first chair report, I have the honor of introducing Mizzou's Nobel Prize recipient, Dr. George P. Smith. Talk about strength, here's strength. Dr. Smith, Curator's Distinguished Professor Emeritus in Biological Science and the university's first professor to receive a Nobel Prize for work conducted on this campus. This recognition has put Missouri on the map for excellence in research, and we are indebted to Dr. Smith for his service to this university. At this time, we're going to play a short video and then welcome Dr. Smith to share a few words about his Nobel experience.
George Smith of the University of Missouri in the United States.
This is what we do at Mizzou. This award, in my opinion, celebrates and validates the impact of basic research.
It's always great to meet someone who could win a Nobel Prize, but then also be such a humble person.
So I feel that I'm accepting this award as a representative of my science community. And I say my science community because I belong to the community, not because the community belongs to me.
It is incredible to think that work done in our labs, here on our campus, have a direct impact like this on the quality of life of all individuals around the world.
I would just like to say one more thing. M-I-Z!
And will you help me welcome Dr. George Smith and his wife, Dr. Marjorie Sable.
Thank you. I didn't bring any slides because I don't want to turn the board curators into board curators. But I'm really proud of Mizzou. And I would just like to say something, that the Nobel Prize was awarded for work that was basically completed about 1990. This is before the Life Sciences Center, certainly before anyone was dreaming of the translational precision medicine. I was the product of small science on this campus. I depended absolutely critically on a big community of science, a small science community, for ideas. Ideas and results of many different people were the fouls, you might say, that gave me free throws for doing science. Fouls not because they were bad, but because they were essential. I can't say that my average was anything like 85%. But they were high enough that it was absolutely crucial. So I just would like to make the small point, or maybe it's the big point, that a healthy university has to have a big, vital community of scholars. And it's not just scientists, but throughout all disciplines. That's absolutely essential. We mustn't focus only on big things because you can't predict what's going to be big. That's the small
advice I have, actually, you know, like when you get the Nobel Prize, you're an expert on everything. So I've given advice to Coach Odom. Basically, it worked pretty well, I thought. So I'm giving some advice to you too. That's my advice. That just to make sure that we have a healthy, big community of scholars here, because that's the most important thing about a university. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to say something? No. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. You talk about strength. That ends my chair report, and I will now introduce the president of the university system. But before he takes the mic, another part of strength, our president, President Moon Choi, will be heading back to Korea to receive an honorary doctorate degree from POSTECH. Now, I'm probably not going to say this. Pohang, University of Science and Technology. So not only is he doing the work here, but he's recognized throughout the world. So, President Choi.
So good morning. It's my pleasure to share with you some of the highlights at the university. And during each board meeting, I'm going to focus on how our performance is measuring up to the important strategic plans that were developed at the 4 universities. And I want to begin with student success. Now, the measurements that I'm going to share are going to indicate that we are making positive progress in many areas, but we do have areas in which we can improve our performance. And I think it's very important for all of us to recognize that we can improve our performance if we work collectively towards our goals. So let me begin with student success. When we look at enrollment management and observe the trends that we see in freshman application, we see that for the most part, we're seeing some significant increases. We are working with UMKC, and UMKC is going to be working with a third-party partner to focus on how to increase the lead generation at the sophomore to senior levels in high school, and to expand the programs that they have working with KC Scholars, as well as the special scholarships that are provided to border states surrounding Missouri. But as you can see, Mizzou is up almost 6%. This is in addition to the 14% increase last year. And we're seeing healthy increases at S&T, and UMSO is holding steady, but they are also going to work with a third party to increase lead generation. It's a very competitive marketplace that we are working in, and we must innovate to share the message that we have for our prospective students. Outstanding education that is affordable and that is designed for success. All 4 universities have also worked very closely with the provost office to increase the rate in which they process applications and send out admissions letters. And along with the admissions letter, financial aid information is also provided so that students can make an informed decision. And as you can see, the admission rates are very high at all 4 campuses. Where we do need to have some more work is in the area of acceptances, where students accept the offer of admission by sending in their indication by sending a check as a deposit. Mizzou is up 37%, and I'm reminded by my colleagues at Mizzou, while these numbers look very promising, we know that there's going to be melt into the future, especially during the summer. But if we can have a class of freshmen coming into Mizzou at 5,200, that'll meet our target. And that's about a 10% increase, but we're in very good shape. UMKC and UMSO are working very closely with the IT team so that they have a process in place to actually measure acceptances. This was not a practice that occurred in previous administrations, but we are changing that, and going forward, they'll have acceptance information. S&T, we are comparing the numbers to fall of 2017 instead of fall of 2018 because they made some changes in the way they define acceptances last year. But they're down 4.4%, and they just became, as you know, a highly selective university, and the quality of students as measured by GPA and ACT scores are very, very impressive. And also, S&T is working with a third party to help drive applications, admissions, and acceptances. The 6-year graduation rate is a rate that we all care about very deeply because that also defines the cost of attendance. The sooner that we can have students go through our system, get that outstanding education, and become productive citizens earning a salary is the best approach that we can have for student success. And what you see is where we are in 2018. We'll have an updated number around October of this year about how we did in the previous year. But you can also see the targets that we have by 2023 as part of our strategic plan. It's also very important to measure annual retention rates from freshman to sophomore. And UMKC, I know that the chancellor and the provost at UMKC are working very hard to increase their performance in first-year retention rate, which helps with the second-year retention rate and the overall 6-year graduation rates. But I'm pleased to report that we are seeing some positive movements towards the goals of 2023, and the additional scholarships that are provided for need-based students will go a long way because we find that many of our students who study, well, not only at our universities, but at many universities who have need-based approaches, such as Pell Grants, have to work several jobs. So the scholarships that we are providing through the universities will be very helpful in that regard. Back in September, with my four colleagues and the curator, chancellor colleagues and the curators, we announced the promise and opportunity and the next generation scholarships. And I am so pleased that UMKC and Mizzou have really stepped up with their commitment for cost sharing to make a difference in the lives of students who need that support. Almost $80 million in scholarships have been raised, primarily for those students with great needs, students who are in the Pell category or the near Pell category. And we will be able to support 2,000 students and counting. Each student will be provided $50,000, $10,000 a year, to help support their education. And this is a tremendous program. I know that when Chancellor Cartwright and Chancellor Agrawal had a chance to visit some of the high schools to inform the students that they received the award, they came back and said it was truly, truly inspiring. And that's what we're here to do. We want to inspire and we want to transform lives through our activities. I also want to congratulate both UMSL, Chancellor George, and Missouri S&T with Chancellor Maples for getting reaccredited by HLC. They have a 10-year reaccreditation based on very important categories of mission, integrity, teaching and learning success, and resource planning and effective utilization of resource to meet the mission of the university. So congratulations. Thank you. Now to research and creative works. And we are a system of 4 public research universities. And research helps to inspire not only breakthroughs that can make a difference in the scientific community, but also lead to greater economic development. But innovative research also helps to inspire teaching and learning that separates research universities from comprehensive teaching universities. That's what makes University of Missouri system universities very unique. The leading indicator for research is research proposals that are submitted. And as you can see, Mizzou has had a very sizable increase in terms of both percentage and dollar amounts. And I need to congratulate all of the faculty members who did the hard work of actually submitting those proposals, but the leadership of Dr. Chancellor Cartwright and also Mark McIntosh for inspiring and working with faculty members to put those proposals through. At UMKC, we have a chancellor who served as a vice president for research at UT San Antonio, and he has made growing the research his highest priority. And he is also developing innovative approaches of using data sciences, working with the health sciences district to help increase research. So I expect to see, and Chancellor Agarwal sitting right there, I expect to see significant increases in proposals in the coming months. Missouri S&T has had a modest increase, and at UMSL, we are down 10%. So Chancellor George will be working with Dr. Mark McIntosh and the faculty to increase research proposals. Now I'm going to go a little quickly. This next leading indicator is in awards. And in awards, Mizzou has had a sizable increase. The other three campuses have seen some decreases. We need to work on this. We need to have chancellors become champions of research, putting teams of faculty members together with the incentives in terms of cost sharing and connecting our best faculty members with funding agencies and collaborators throughout the United States. Expenditures, that is the measure of research that is reported to the National Science Foundation, and it is used as a measure for measuring the productivity of our faculty members in research. And as you can see, it is mixed in terms of results, but the leading indicators are the best indicators that we have to know how we're going to do in research measures going forward. I'm also very pleased to announce that each of our 4 universities have had some very significant research awards that were received. The first is Drs. Wendy Reinke with co-PIs that are shown there for a $10 million center to enhance the capability of rural K-12 institutions to improve the mental health of our students. And that is so important. And we see that every day at all 4 of our universities. Next is Dr. Mark Johnson from the School of Dentistry, who has developed some very innovative techniques of developing biomaterials that can be used for dental practice. And that award is from the NIH. And at Missouri S&T, they have some very innovative programs on sustainable energy. And with the advent of both solar and wind energy, an effective approach to store that energy so that you can even out the demand, to meet the demands, is very critical. And that is from Department of Energy. And UMSL is really very well positioned for both social and behavioral science research. We all know that they have some wonderful programs in addiction research through the Missouri Institute of Mental Health. But this is a project that's supported by the MacArthur Foundation, the organization that awards the Genius Awards to faculty members throughout the United States. Beth Hebner is one of the world's leading experts on criminal justice. And it really is a great pleasure to work at a system with such outstanding faculty members who are demonstrating their national competitive stature. Yesterday, we held a TPMC progress update led by Dr. Mark McIntosh, Dr. Elizabeth Laboa, and partners from all 4 universities. And we now have 3 very collaborative working groups in cancer, neurological, and vascular research, and they are developing concept papers for proposals that can be submitted for both federal grants as well as philanthropic support. Thus far, we've raised $4.3 million towards a $75 million goal, but we're quickly realizing that we need to increase that goal by another $25 million. In government relations, we have the TPMC included as a line item in our budget. It currently stands at $1 million, but we're going to work very closely with the governor's office and the state legislature to increase that to about $5 million and to request it over a multi-year period of 5 to 7 years. Our faculty members, working with Dusty Schneiders and our outside consulting firm and Dr. Mark McIntosh, was able to work with the VA here in Columbia to include a $50 million item into the VA budget for a joint collaboratory at the TPMC to work on projects that are of interest to precision medicine researchers as well as the VA, including traumatic brain injuries and very innovative biomaterials. And we have made a request to the White House to authorize the spending of that $50 million. And so together, with the $50 million from the UM system, $50 million from Mizzou, as well as the potential for $50 million from the VA, we are $150 million closer to the $228 million cost of the building. The reason that we need to continue to advocate for state support and philanthropy is that we need to equip this building with the most modern instrumentation for imaging, high-performance computing, and other centralized facilities that will grow research in precision medicine as well as related areas. The project manager search is underway. We have a number of outstanding candidates, and the search committee will be meeting next week to identify the top candidates for us to consider for this position. Construction. The groundbreaking will most likely occur after we bring this project up for approval by the board, and the groundbreaking will occur probably sometime in June or July of this year. And October 19th, 2021 is when the grand opening of the building will occur, and I believe Cameron Farwell and Gary Ward will send you a calendar invite, so make sure you set aside that day for this very exciting day. That day will mark a 17-year end of the 17-year drought of a research building at this campus, for an AAU campus. I want to thank the board for your strategic and relentless focus on ensuring that the TPMC remains a high priority, and we are up to the challenge to ensure that we have that building up and running and producing the type of research that will benefit citizens in Missouri and beyond. This is the artist's rendition, looking at from the northwest view towards the southeast, and it is going to be a spectacular building of co-laboratories, basically laboratories without walls, where engineers can work with vet med scientists as well as cancer researchers and clinicians to actually translate that research so that we can benefit Missouri residents, not only those who get treated here, but throughout the state of Missouri. I want to give the board an update on the strategic plan investment for research. We plan to invest from the system $10 million per year for the next 5 years, with significant matches from the university, which can come from their operating budget, philanthropy, or corporate partnerships. And for the Tier 1 proposal, these are the large proposals that can go up to $4 million in value with cost sharing. We have significant number of proposals from Mizzou, S&T, and UMKC. Now, S&T is a much smaller university, so they've thrown down the gauntlet and said, Mizzou, we're going to challenge you. And I think our Mizzou colleagues will be up for that challenge. But we are going through the process of evaluating the pre-proposals and make a request for full proposals with the input of review committees, of peer colleagues, as well as campus leaders. And for Tier 2 are the smaller proposals that can be up to $750,000. As you can see, we have significant number of proposals, and the value of the proposals are shown there. I just want to share with Dr. George Smith, we have what's called the Tier 3 proposals, and these are smaller proposals that are designed to support collaboration in the arts, social sciences, and the humanities. And we can't forget the importance of those research to our university. But we also want to encourage our STEM colleagues to collaborate with the colleagues who are involved in that in the arts, humanities, and social sciences research. So we heard your message loud and clear, even before you said it. But thank you very much, Dr. Smith. All right, philanthropy. Where are we in philanthropy? Given the uncertainty of state budgets and given the uncertainty of enrollment in the competitive environment that we're facing, philanthropy has to be a major component of revenue generation, in addition to other programs like distance and online learning. I want to show you here the increases in annual giving comparing year over year from July 1st to January 31st. Very significant increases that we've seen in both dollar amounts and percentages at 3 universities. We are working very closely with Chris Maples and Joan Nesbitt, and they have a new approach to engage their alums in big ideas that support the strategic vision of that campus. Lastly, I want to share with you the legislative showcase that will be held as part of Legislative Day at the State Capitol on February 21st. We invite all of our stakeholders and partners and supporters to demonstrate to the state legislature our value to the state of Missouri. We know that our economic impact to the state annually is at $5.4 billion, and we are a very good investment that returns 13 to 1 when it comes to that return on investment. So I want to thank you for your support, and we have a lot of important work to do, but we have a great team that we can marshal to achieve our goals. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Choi. Next up, Avery Welker, Student Representative to the Board of Curators, for his report.
Well, welcome to the debut of the new and improved version of the Student Report with pictures. Special shout out to Kelly in the back for several ideas and a lot of help condensing it down and giving me some assistance with it. Does this?
Should work. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. We'll start with the Inter-Campus Student Council and what we've been up to. We are currently working on a way to gather data through student surveys to determine the magnitude of the issue of food insecurity on campus. We are also discussing the application of shared governance across each university and ensuring that we are capitalizing on all opportunities that are available to the students. Next, we'll go with ASUM. Pictured there is the legislative interns for 2019. They've been selected and are busy advocating for students already every Tuesday and Thursday up at the Capitol. They have sponsors for several of their platforms and are optimistic about their opportunities for this session. All right, next up for MSA here at Mizzou. The Legion of Black Collegians will be hosting the 42nd Annual Big 12 Conference on Black Student Government from February 21st through the 24th. They anticipate to host around 500 students for the conference and are inviting speakers like Simone Sanders, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and Shalana Scales-Ferguson. And also pictured there is one of the Mizzou alternative break trips that went to Jamaica, and they sent several students out to many different communities across the country and internationally. Again, for Mizzou here for their graduate students, GPC is proud to announce that they've created the GPC Financial Assistance Fund, which is a gift fund ready to support MU graduate and professional students in need. The fund is entirely gift-based. Their initial goal is to raise $5,000. And as of January 31st, they were nearly 10% of the way to meeting that goal. And if this is successful, GPC plans on creating an endowment to provide graduate and professional students with a more consistent way to receive emergency assistance in times of hardship. And any interested parties can donate at that link that's over there. Next, we'll move on to UMKC. Students at UMKC are very cautious about their environment, and when talks of sustainability came along, they were very responsive to the idea. UMKC once had a sustainability program and a coordinator, but there is no longer one. And Abdul, the SGA president, is working with the Johnson County Community College to get some insight about how to establish a great recycling program for their campus. There is a potential partnership in progress with UMKC and Actus, as well as the Law School Club for Sustainability. And additionally, in late January, SGA set out 4 baskets filled with hats, gloves, and scarves to help aid students who didn't have access to those resources to keep them warm during the recent cold snap. It was well received on campus as most of that gear was claimed and used. The Facebook post that's up there pictured was to announce the campaign, and it reached over 4,000 people with over 500 engagements on the post itself. And then additionally, parents reached out to thank SGA specifically for helping out their students during that cold weather. All right, for S&T Stuco, the Missouri S&T Faculty Senate is currently considering a plus-minus grading system that the S&T Student Council is being tasked with representing the student opinion on, and they will be presenting that to the Faculty Senate. And additionally, this is some pictures of the fitness center that's in progress. I'm very excited about that. It's on schedule to be complete in April. And, whoops, forgot one more. For the Council of Graduate Students, the graduate students at S&T are looking for improved financial stability and career opportunities from the university. And in response to that, CGS is planning a student-run career fair that is focused on the graduate students, as well as developing an alumni outreach program geared towards establishing alumni endowments for graduate students. Then for St. Louis, SGA is starting a realignment process. They're going to attempt to align SGA's actions with their current constitution and look for ways that they can amend their constitution to fit that alignment. One issue that's popping up that some faculty members on campus are not using or attempting to use Canvas, which is their learning management system. And this includes everything from not posting grades online to not posting the class syllabus online. And they are trying to look into ways to encourage the faculty to utilize their learning management systems better. And then finally, for myself, what am I doing as the student rep? I am currently working on bringing back the old Coalition for Student Leaders idea that was presented by Amy Johnson back, I guess, 2012, around that area. I'm going to be working with ISC to do that, and I think that's going to be a really cool event that we're going to try and do, hopefully in the fall, something like that, but very early stages, but I'm very excited about it. And additionally, I'll be working with President Choi in our campus student council, and I will be requesting a meeting with Steve Graham, so check your inbox here, coming up soon, Steve. And we want to work on developing a policy paper for looking at student evaluations of teaching so we can demonstrate their importance and their impact to teaching effectiveness. That's all I got.
Thank you, Avery, and thanks for braving the weather, too, for heading up from Rolla. I now need a motion for the approval of the revised 2019 Board of Curators meeting calendar.
So move.
Good. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Any questions on consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Curator Phillips?
So I have a couple of questions on the sole source purchase, not objections, but
Okay.
this would be the time for questions?
Yep.
Or do you want to do it when we get to the vote, which I think is later in the meeting? Do you want the questions now?
Yeah, questions now.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
So this is in our agenda, it's 7.7-1, and it has to do with the sole source of Experian transaction services. So a little, I'll give background, and then I'm not sure who's going to answer it, but I'm guessing it's going to be Brian. So we formed several years ago, of course, the alliance with Cerner, who is one of only 2 of the electronic medical records that an academic medical center ought to align with. And it's been a very good relationship. And as I understand it, we then started using, and they made available the Cerner revenue cycle software, which helps us with our billing. And this, if I understand it correctly, is now taking a further step. And I'm looking at it, it's $6.7 million sole source because it's tied in with the rest of their system. And that's like $2.2 million a year. So my question is, that's in addition to what our other commitments are. What are our other commitments on a per-year basis, roughly? I think about 3 or 4 years ago, we did an extension for the Tiger Institute. Yeah. And so I'm curious about how much we're already paying to them. And this is in addition to it. And then I've got another question after you answer that.
So I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm looking at Jonathan to see. If not, we could get you the information today.
Thank you so much, Kara Phillips. I will get you that exact number if you will give me a chance beyond break. Thank you.
So I'll answer my own question. I bet it's a lot, but we have a special relationship, and we're like their beta tester, and we're a special client. My question is, so the more you get hooked into either Epic or Cerner, and the more you do sole source, it's almost like you give up the opportunity to have other sources, and you're locked in to that system. And so this will be the question for the long run, and I'm certainly in favor of doing it. I'm not sure we really have a choice. But to what extent are we, because of our special relationship, benefiting in terms of price, or is it all the collaborative benefits that we get? You would think that when we're taking the 3 different packages that they offer, once you're in all the way, are we maximizing it, and are we really getting a good discount? They've changed management. I would think that you can now maybe negotiate with them more than you could under prior management, and that's the question I raise. I'm not opposing it, but I'd like more information. I may not be at your next meeting, but I'd like more information before I get replaced.
Thank you, Carrier Phillips. I can assure you that we have agreed that integration in the revenue cycle and the electronic medical record, whether in Columbia or in Jefferson City, where we're implementing this, and at the Lake Regional Health System, we believe that integration is the most important option. It's the best thing for our patients that are out there. Financially, we get very advantageous pricing on this particular product, as evidenced by the contract at Cap Region Medical Center was much less for their services than if they would have gone directly to that facility. So thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Curator Phillips, would you like to take that off the consent agenda until you get an answer?
No.
Or, okay.
No. I think we should proceed.
Okay.
But I thought this
fine.
meeting would be a time to ask them negotiate now.
Yeah, great question. If no other questions on the consent agenda, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nays? Motion carries. We will now get into our first chair report. Finance chair. The committee chair is Chairman Burnsick, if you're available.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Sunbold, and good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
The Finance Committee met on January 28th and approved one action item during that meeting. Vice President Rapp presented the recommendations for fiscal year 2020 student housing and dining rates on the UMKC, Missouri S&T, Amsoil campuses, as outlined in the meeting materials that were provided in the February meeting mailing. As you will recall, the MU rates were approved at the November 2018 meeting. The rates vary across the campuses and within each campus based on selections by the students. The predominant room and board plans vary as follows. UMKC received a 2.8% increase, or $294. Missouri S&T was voted to approve a 2.2%, or $223 increase. Amsoil had a 2% increase, or $200 increase for the academic year. As a reminder, the MU rates decreased 1.8%, or $173. The Finance Committee unanimously approved the schedule of rates provided for the residence halls and family student housing at UMKC, Missouri S&T, and UMSL, effective beginning with the 2019 summer session. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board the approval of residence halls and family student housing rates presented in the materials before you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion by the full board? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nays? Thank you, Chair Burnsick, for the finance report. We will now move on to Compensation and Human Resource Chair Report. Curator Snowden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Compensation and HR Committee has one action item today. It's to approve the filing of the cost statement of proposed changes to the University of Missouri Retirement, Disability, and Death Benefit Plan, and preliminary approve the proposed new retirement plan for future employees. This was presented to the board back in November, as you'll recall, and I'd like to call Associate Vice President Marcia Fisher to give the next steps as to the approval process.
Thank you. So we went into a lot of detail at the last November meeting about the proposed new plan, and I did include those materials as a reference for you in your board books. We won't go through that again today, but without going into detail, we covered 4 things. The why of that we're doing this evaluation and making the recommendation, the process and the number of people that we included in making the evaluation and recommendation, the actual details of the proposed plan, and the vetting process that we had done up until that point, and the vetting process that we had planned. We come to you today having completed the rest of the vetting with our community, and we're asking for the next steps in the approval process. First, there's a statutory requirement that we file an actuarial cost statement of the defined benefit plan with the Joint Committee on Public Employee Retirement and with the Secretary of the Board as a public information. And secondly, we're requesting that you preliminarily approve the proposed retirement plan and that you direct staff to make the revisions to the plan documents and bring them back to the board for a full vote for final approval no sooner than 45 days after the cost benefit statement has been filed. Any questions?
Are there any questions? If not, thank you, Marcia. May I have a motion and a second from the committee that the actuarial cost statement of the proposed changes to the University of Missouri Retirement, Disability, and Death Benefit Plan shall be filed with the Secretary of the Board as public information and filed with the Joint Committee on Public Employment Retirement, and the proposed new retirement plan for future employees as described in the summary document is preliminarily approved, and staff are directed to prepare appropriate retirement plan document revisions to be submitted to the board for final approval no sooner than 45 days after the actuarial cost statement is filed with the Secretary of the Board as public information. Do I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Is there a second?
This needs to be from the
committee.
That's a committee.
From the committee. That's got to be Daryl or
Julia.
Second.
Julia.
Oh.
Okay, Julie, did she second it?
Yes.
I did.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Now, Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the full board to file the actuarial cost statement of the proposed changes to the Missouri University Retirement, Disability, and Death Benefit Plan and preliminarily approve the proposed new retirement plan for future employees.
Second.
Any discussion?
You need to ask for a second.
He had a second, I got a
Oh,
second.
you seconded it.
I got a second.
I have, this isn't a question, but I want to compliment Marcia for the way in which she went about this. Shared governance is often viewed as the educational aspects of university, but in this case, I know the work that was gone through and the various meetings that were had to get the understanding of all of the people who will be affected by this. 5 years ago, I think it would have been very difficult to go forward with this, but I know that you've spent a lot of time and your staff has. And the fact that you have what I would say is good buy-in from most people and an understanding of going to defined contribution, well done. So that's my thought. Well done.
Yeah, well done. Any other thoughts or discussions? So I need the full board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay. Any abstentions? Passes. We will now move on to Academic Student Affairs, Research and Economic Development Chair Report. That is Curator Chapman.
Hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. The Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee approved 2 action items at the committee meeting on January 29th, 2019. We had a really good discussion. Dr. Tim Wolf, and this is for our first action item, Dr. Tim Wolf, supported by Dean Christopher Hagelin, presented a new degree proposal for occupational therapy doctorate at the University of Missouri Columbia. University of Missouri Department of Occupational Therapy has been an accredited OT education program for 50 years with a long history of exceptional retention and graduation rates, board certification exam pass rates, and job placement rates. The MUOT program experienced significant growth in recent years, expanding cohort sizes nearly 50% from 30 students in the graduating cohort of 2014 to 44 students in the graduating cohort of 2019 in response to market demand for OT services. In August of 2017, the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education announced a mandate to change the entry-level degree for the OT profession from a master's degree to the occupational therapy doctorate by July 1, 2027. The proposed entry-level OTD program will replace the existing Masters of Occupational Therapy program and extend the professional program by 15 months, adding 36 new credits and incorporating 79 existing credits in the current MOT or Master of Occupational Therapy curriculum. The entry-level OTD program will be offered in an on-site cohort model, much like the existing MOT program. In the near future, these post-professional entry points will allow existing OT practitioners to advance their careers by obtaining a post-professional OTD degree through online coursework that offers flexibility for students who are balancing doctoral coursework with employment as OT practitioners and other life roles. Because achievement of core program sufficiency is solely dependent on the entry-level students, this program proposed is focused on the entry-level OTD structure and students. The Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee unanimously approved the new degree proposal for occupational therapy doctorate at the University of Missouri Columbia. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee, I move that the University of Missouri Columbia new degree proposal for occupational therapy doctorate be approved as outlined in the materials for this meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Chapman.
All right.
Okay, next, keep going.
Okay, so we have our second action item, and I will refer everyone to page 137 of the combined PDF for the meeting today.
Hey, Daryl, wait up one. Daryl, wait up 1 second. I need a
Yes, sir.
vote. I'm going to vote on the first action item because I got a second. Any questions?
Yes, I do.
Question from Curator Phillips.
I was on the committee, so I know this has been discussed. I wanted to make a point of this, and then I do have a question, and I'm guessing this might be for Steve Green.
I can take it, or we have people from the department as well.
It's a great program. There's great demand for it. The point I made at the committee meeting is that it has a capacity of 44 students. If we did it largely online, you could greatly increase the capacity. So I want to make that point here. The question has to do with the way it's proposed. It says within the campus and across the system, but I don't see in the materials the extent to which it's going to be made available, to the extent it can be partially made online across the system to other campuses. And then most importantly, but on the same topic, I'm looking here, and Missouri State University is starting their own doctorate program, and they're being subsidized by the state. So their projected costs are about half what ours are. Is this an example where we might, when we go live with our new online programs, where we might actually make it available to other public universities within Missouri and get the support of the Missouri Higher Education Commission so that instead of having other campuses start their own programs, that we might benefit Missouri State or others, and they might be reciprocal instead of doing additional duplicate programs within the state. I didn't realize that until I was looking. I'm not begrudging them the program. I'm just saying, isn't this an example that we could get Zora Mulligan to work with us on for an example of it? You catch my drift?
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Crystal Gately. I'm the Associate Chair of the Department of Occupational Therapy. A couple of different questions that you brought up there. One is in regard to how this would affect other campuses within the system. Our entry-level occupational therapy doctorate program here on campus at this point in time would maintain the 44 students cohort. We are exploring options of whether or not we would be able to have a satellite program, perhaps similar to the UMKC pharmacy program has a satellite campus here. We don't have clear expectations as to when that might occur. The online question that you asked has more to do with the post-professional doctorate. So those are individuals who are already out in practice with entry-level bachelor's or master's degrees, practicing as occupational therapists and coming back for a post-professional occupational therapy doctorate degree. That does have the potential for inter-campus collaboration for us to be able to have the primary campus here through Mizzou, but also to be able to offer that to the other campuses as well. I'm not sure if I fully answered your question.
That answers the first half. The second half is, could we make it available to other state universities so they don't do duplicate programs unnecessarily?
In terms of the entry level or the post-professional?
The post-professional, the doctorate program in this case.
Well, they are both doctorate programs, but the post-professional would be, because it's online, would be open basically to any student across the state as well as across the nation. That's the way most post-professional programs that are already in existence operate.
Well, that's great.
So
it's already in the works, in other words.
Correct. Yes, sir.
right, and we will speak with Commissioner Mulligan about the possibility of collaborating with other universities so that they don't have to expend the resources to recreate what we have here. And so we will take that up with her.
And this is an example of other programs, and if we can share what we're doing with other state universities, maybe we can cut down on the duplication that we have.
That's right.
Curator Steelman, is that a good idea?
Certainly is.
I know he's always looking to cut costs.
And as you may know, we are doing that in certain areas like at the engineering program with Missouri State and the potential engineering program at Southeast Missouri, for which Missouri S&T is serving as an important partner.
Thanks.
I actually think the best thing you brought up, though, was the ability, which I hope you all keep in mind as we work on this online, the ability to expand, not just because of the cost, but to also occupy the competitive position, and not just against Missouri universities. I mean, we've all seen the Purdue Kaplan and the Arizona State ads in our own space. So we need to do that just to maintain competitive advantage. Revenues.
Any other questions? We have, the action item has been moved and seconded on the proposal for the occupational therapy doctorate. So I need a vote from the full board. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nays? Any abstentions? Chair Chapman, your next action item. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good questions and good discussion. Thank you. All right, Dr. David Colt, this is for our second action item. Dr. David Colt, supported by Dean Christopher Haglund, presented a new degree proposal for Master of Athletic Training at the University of Missouri-Columbia. The Commission for Accreditation of Athletic Training Education, along with the Board of Certification and the National Athletic Trainers Association, will no longer accredit undergraduate programs. The Bachelor of Athletic Training program will be phased out as the accrediting agency. The Commission for Accreditation of Athletic Training Education will no longer be accrediting undergraduate programs. A recent survey of students in the Introduction to Health Professionals course revealed that 86% of students are interested or very interested in earning an advanced degree, and 50% are interested in a career in athletic training. The program will be cohort-based with enrollment capped due to available clinical experiences and the need to ensure good student to preceptor ratios. It will be a full-pay graduate program with no tuition discounting or graduate assistantships. Vibrant enrollment in the current program, coupled with an expanding profession, allows us to project a viable program that can anticipate only growth. The undergraduate athletic training program at MU has quickly become a leading program in the state. MU provides a uniquely rich academic environment, having a large academic health center with independent health professions, nursing, and medical schools. Of the other Missouri institutions that will have a master's program, only St. Louis University has a medical school and a comparable ability to provide a robust interdisciplinary education. Our students are exposed to a diverse group of athletes, preceptors, team physicians, and facilities to experience hands-on training with the more than 550 student athletes. Our students are also able to experience the multitude of recreational sports and intramurals through a clinical site agreement with the Missouri Orthopedic Institute and REC, or Rec Sports. It is this combination of academic and athletic program resources that has contributed to the success of our undergraduate program and will enable us to pursue excellence as we respond to our accrediting organization's requirement of a transition to a master's degree. The Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee unanimously approved the new degree proposal for Master of Athletic Training at the University of Missouri-Columbia. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee, I move that the University of Missouri-Columbia new degree proposal for Master of Athletic Training be approved as outlined in the materials for this meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Full board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nays? Any abstentions? It passes. Thank you much for a great report, Chair Chapman. We'll now move on to the audit report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll now move on to the audit report. Curator Lehman has strep throat and is sick in Springfield. We hope he feels better. Curator Burnsick, I believe you're stepping in.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. In Curator Lehman's absence today, I present a summary of the Audit Committee held February 1st in conjunction with today's board meeting. The Audit Committee had 3 information items and 1 action item. For the first information item, Vice President Ryan Rapp presented the Internal Audit and Consulting Quarterly Report and the 2018 Integrity and Accountability Hotline Annual Report on behalf of Interim Chief Audit Executive Michelle Peranio, who is out on medical leave. Since the last internal audit and consulting report, 3 audits have been added to the existing approved internal audit plan for a new total of 68 planned audits for fiscal year 19. 11 of those 68 audits are carried over from fiscal year 18. 10 have been completed, and 1 audit is currently in process. Staff has completed 3 and began work on 17 of the 2019 audit plan audits. Information item 2 relates to notice that the 2018 Integrity and Accountability Hotline annual report has replaced the University of Missouri Ethics and Compliance Hotline. This change reflects and reaffirms our commitment to institutional accountability, transparency, and protection of the university community. Details of each of the reference reports are available in your audit committee materials, and Vice President Rapp is available for any questions the board might have. Hearing no questions, the third information item relates to Rachel Dwiggins, partner with BKD, who presented the fiscal year 2018 External Auditors Report and required communication, provided an overview of the NCAA Agreed Upon Procedures Report, and also provided an overview of fiscal year 2019 audit scope services, timeline, preliminary risk assessments, and discussed implementation of new accounting announcements effective fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Ms. Wiggins reported there were no matters as reportable, and BKD has issued an unmodified or clean opinion on financial statements. I believe Rachel may be available for any questions the board may have.
Any questions? Okay, go on, Julia.
All right, we'll move on to the action item, which relates to the engagement of independent auditors and their fees, and approval of their fees. Vice President Ryan Rapp discussed the engagement of BKD LLP as independent auditors for fiscal year 2019. The proposed action he presented represents a 3% decrease over the prior year and a 24% decrease in fees and expenses for external audit services over fiscal year 2015. The audit committee unanimously approved that the Vice President for Finance be authorized to employ the firm of BKD to provide audit services to the University of Missouri for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. So, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Audit Committee, I move to recommend to the full board that the Vice President of Finance be authorized to employ the firm of BKD to provide audit services to the University of Missouri for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019.
Can I get a second? Second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor, full board vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nays? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, Curator Burnsick, for stepping in. We appreciate your work and your help. Next, Health Affairs Committee, Chair Report from Curator Graham.
Thank you, Chairman Sunvald. But before I start with this report, I would like to express my appreciation, and I know I speak for the board when I say that we applaud and thank you for getting our 2019 year off to such a dynamic and good start. To say you hit the ground running would be a gigantic understatement. So thank you. Health Affairs. I would commend for the review of everyone the written report from Jennifer May on compliance, and also the quarterly report, and also the quarterly report from Mike Blair on finance. Jonathan Curtright was here earlier, but I think he may have stepped out. But he is available for questions. To give you some general information, the prospects for the coming year indicate that that revenue will be down some, and that's going to be accommodated by efforts to find significant efficiencies in reducing expenses, and that's all underway. Jonathan, we just got started, and I did say that you were available here to answer any questions that anyone might have. I know some of you may be wondering where we stand with the exploration discussions with SSM regarding St. Mary's over in Jefferson City, and those exploration discussions are continuing and will continue. And we would expect that to proceed over the coming months. There are no action items for the Health Affairs Committee because the minutes have already been approved, and we don't need to approve them. So we do have matters to report on and address in executive session later today, but that is the Health Affairs Committee report.
Thank you very much.
Does anyone have a question of Jonathan? We don't do it.
Since our schedule is, we're trying to shuffle, we're going through this so fast. Curator Steelman, what do you think of that?
I'm impressed. I wish Cups was there to say it.
John, we can't do it here yet. He's waiting on people to show up.
Okay. Well, the morning session is done. We were going to try to move some things ahead, but we cannot until after lunch. So we will take a break. What we're going to try to do, the lunch program was canceled. So I need a motion to go into closed session. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, roll call vote. Cindy, we're
Aye.
going to go to closed session.
Curator Burnsick,
Yes.
Curator Chapman,
Yes.
Curator Graham,
Yes.
Curator Phillips,
Yes.
Curator Snowden,
Yes.
Curator Steelman,
Yes.
Curator Sunvold.
Yes.
Okay. All votes in favor.
So we will now have lunch, go to closed session. And we will be
So-
back at 1:15, Chancellor Cartwright.
Yes. We are checking real quickly to make sure the ports are live next door in the lunchroom so
Okay.
that we could have the closed session meeting there. If that's the case, we do have lunches being set up, so we would have everybody else who's not needed for closed session grab your lunch real quickly and then come back in here and eat. And I have a plan B if that doesn't work. So
And
stay tuned.
And Cindy, this is Daryl. Will we be doing the closed session at noon, or will there be a break from now until noon and then closed session, or are we doing
Yeah.
closed session right now?
how about 11:45?
Yeah, we'll need a short break just to kind of get things organized.
Is that
real
okay,
quickly.
Daryl? 11:45?
That works just fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll text you and Julia when
Thank
we're
you.
ready.
Okay, see
Thanks,
everybody back here at 1:15.